I'm going to talk about my exam strategy, how I prepared for the exam. So the first resource that I followed and I really liked and I would highly advise is the E2PTE. So they have a set of ways on how you can answer a particular type of question. I just followed the strategy that was given in that website. They have some mini mock tests as well. I'll place the link in the description so that you can refer, have a look. So for example, for answering the describe image, I got a strategy from there that first you give an introductory statement like this image represents what you see in the image, the topic of the image. Then one key element that if it's a bar graph, the highest population is found in this country and the lowest population is found here, some key element, and then a concluding statement like in conclusion, overall the population seems to be rising in the past decade or something like that. Similarly for retail lecture, there is a passage, so you get like there is a strategy like the speaker discussed dash, he or she mentioned dash, he highlighted dash. So you just fill those keywords and your lecture is ready, and you jot down those keywords when you're listening to the passage, etc. So I followed the strategy as it is, and I was able to get the required score. So that's why I sort of suggested that PTE works in a way that you need to be, if you have a strategy and if your English is all right and if you're paying a lot of attention, the test is crackable. So that's the number one resource that I followed. So once I got familiar with the whole test, once I listened to their videos, I didn't listen to all of their videos, but I got the strategy for each of the question type and saw their videos usually with a high playback speed, etc. Once I did that, then I practiced some free tests. So there are a few websites, PTE tutorials, PTE mock test, etc. They give you some free tests. So I practiced that, and they usually give you a full test as well. Like you can give a whole test and get some feedback as well. So once I did that, then I thought, since I'm paying so much money for the actual test, I went with one scored test from the actual PTE test. So they give you practice tests. You have to pay something. I think it was around $40, maybe 5,000 rupees. I think you need to pay that for one test, but I thought it's worth it because I can get used to the whole test. So I bought one of those tests before my actual exam, because that test gave me a simulation of how my whole exam would be. And one thing though, I would say my scores were not exactly similar to what I got in my actual test. In fact, in my actual test, I think I got more than what I got in my scored practice test, which I gave just a day before. So these are some of the resources that you can use to prepare for the test. So in the final section, I'm going to give you some tips that you can utilize if you're giving the PTE exam. Number one, increase the volume for the questions. There is a volume bar, it can go unnoticed. So in the listening section, it's better you can increase the volume to listen to what they're saying more carefully. And the second one is, I think this is the most important tip, you need to manage your time for the listening section. So what happened with me is that by the time I reached to the end of the listening section, remember the last question is write from dictation. So you basically listen to something and then you have to write a sentence, it would be. So I was not able to reach towards the end of the section. That is, I think I missed 2 or 3, but my whole listening section was perfect. But just because I missed 3 questions towards the end, I couldn't get a 79 in my writing. So I ended up scoring around 73 or 72. So yes, the last question in listening section is very important. Even if you don't perform well in the questions that are before that, even if you don't know the exact answer of some of the questions, it's all right, but there's no way that you can miss the last question, otherwise you won't get that 79 mark. So please remember. So it's very important to devote time to questions. If you're spending too much time, just mark something and move on to the next question, especially in the listening section. The next tip is that missing words are okay. For example, you missed some words during the read aloud section, or you said a word incorrectly. It's perfectly fine. In fact, I remember, missing a word and then coming back home and thinking, oh, I won't score well. But then I scored a 90 in that section. A 90 out of 90, that is in reading, because all my other questions and most of my questions were correct. So it's like an average sort of a marking that the computer has. So it's fine if you miss some words. And the next tip is, speaking can be really distracting, so you need to be prepared for that. Like when you give your tests at your home, at the comfort of your home, you are in a quiet place, you are giving that in complete silence, the mock test, and if you're giving the practice, a PT score test as well. But the actual test would be very different. You are sitting in a room full of other people, everyone is speaking at the same time, everyone is doing describe image, retell lecture, etc. So there is usually a whole lot of noise and it becomes a bit distracting. So you need to keep that in mind and you need to concentrate. No, other speaking would not affect your scores, but still it can be difficult to maintain concentration. So please be aware of that. And probably the last point I would say is make notes. Don't think that you will be able to speak, it will come to you naturally, or you will have it in your mind. It can become a bit difficult because, like I mentioned, the test is really fast. So it's better to make notes in almost all the sections, like listening, your essay, you need to be prepared for your writing section, and for your reading section, just make notes. Make small notes, like you can use symbols, you can use images, whatever makes it easy for you to take notes. But yeah, I would highly recommend. So these were some of the tips and my whole exam experience. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. I do similar videos on Australia, and if you are interested in any kind of topic or anything that you want to know based on my experience, put it down in the comment section as well. Thank you for listening. Content shared in this video is based on personal experience and research. If you enjoyed the video, like, share and subscribe. Keep watching, keep listening and continue learning.